Hey, hey.
How
Oh, oh.
do?
Hee hee.
How do
Welcome
good?
back to Dream Idiots.
How do good, sir? My name is Morris, and the other fellow there is Brian. Each week we bring each other stories and drag you along for the ride.
Hmm.
Brian, before the wind carries you away, what are the places where these folks can find us besides the podcatcher they're listening to right now?
So if you're in Texas right now, it's like monsoon season here. So if you hear whistling, I'm not being blown away by a tornado or anything. Um, Thanks for tagging along with us as always, folks. We do appreciate it. You can find us at dreamidiots.com. We actually have some decent merchandise there if you want to spend some money. Check us out on virtually every single podcast platform out there. If you can, shoot us a review, give us 5 stars. That helps. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Dream Idiots, and we're even on YouTube in limited fashion. If you want to watch two talking heads, you can do that there, and it's at Dream Idiots Podcast on YouTube. And drop us a line if you want. Give us a story idea, give us a curse word, send us an email at dreamidiotspodcast@gmail.com.
Sounds great. And we've got wind rushing down the front range as we speak, so you might hear whistling on my side as well. So. Brian, you had an announcement I think you wanted to make before we got started.
Just one kind of quick update that I wanted to offer up that I failed to do for last week. So recently, we did a episode on surviving Trump 2.0. So right
Yes.
after that episode dropped, I had posted both to the Dream Idiots Facebook and then just to my personal Facebook. Uh, just tips, tactics, like what's everyone going to do? Because this is going to be an unholy train wreck, as we're seeing every single fucking day with these assholes running our country now. And so, what can we all do to just lighten the load and kind of get through this insanity? And so, a few more suggestions, and these are all from listeners and or friends of the podcast. Not too many, just a few. One person wrote, "Laughter, if at all possible, will certainly help." The person after that, seemingly in response, offered up a quote. I don't know what this quote is from, but the quote is, "People who continue to laugh as the flames lick their feet are either insane or employed to do so," unquote. Not sure what that's from. So either
Hmm.
laugh or don't laugh. Uh, Third recommendation, call 202-224-3121. I did not check that number, but this person says this is the number for the US Congress. You can call a number and basically yell and scream at whoever your representative is in DC. Join a rally, support good DEI businesses like Costco as much as possible. Next recommendation, don't keep looking at the horror show that is the news. Focus on friends and family. Always a good piece of advice. Friend of the pod, Harry, says find ways to fight back. Insist on identifying the tyranny for what it is. Use the word coup in daily conversations. Ask questions like, why does MAGA need your granny's financial information? And then a guy named Bruce wrote in, and all he said is, I expect my red wine consumption to go way up. And then there were three or four others who also basically advocated for 4 years of alcoholism. So don't do that.
Jesus.
But that's probably not wise. But
And I cannot
but
personally advocate for that.
right,
So,
right. But certainly I understand the instinct or whatever the reflex to want to do that. Also, one of the things that I had offered up, I hate the fact that I'm at least partially correct. I had mentioned that I was concerned that the FDIC might be at risk and under attack, and now it is. So about 10% of the workforce tied to the FDIC has been fired, and Trump is now considering or trying to figure out whether it can be moved under the auspices of the Department of the Treasury, the Department of Commerce. He can't actually do that. That's unconstitutional. It requires Congress's involvement to do that. But with this Congress, even with a tiny majority, they seem to be able to still get things get basically do whatever he would like them to do. So if there's no FDIC, to the underlying point we were making before, be careful with your money, or maybe diversify a little bit.
Yep.
I currently have I use I've been using an online bank for 5 or 6 years. About 6 or I don't know. That's when last year I opened an account with a local bank, and maybe keeping some money in multiple places, maybe keeping some cash, maybe keeping some cash in Cash App or Venmo. All of this kind of seems like a good idea at this point.
Yep.
The one sort of drawback of online banks, I'm sort of fighting with my online bank right now because I transferred some money from my local bank to the online bank, and the debit went out from my local bank, but there's just money out there in the ether that hasn't been deposited in my online bank, and it's now missing for 3 days. But it'll turn up. It's fine. But again, just because if the FDIC goes away, and I don't know, who the hell knows what's going to happen with all of this. Just be careful. I mean, in my mind, I'm now looking at my accounts every single day. Every single morning, I open up my apps and go, what cleared, what didn't clear, what's this random charge, what the hell's going on? Because I want to know to the penny where every cent is going, because I don't trust anything anymore. And so anyway, just some extra suggestions out there, because virtually every system that we've come to rely on for the last 50 years is now at risk. So being hyper diligent is probably a good idea.
We had the opportunity to listen to an online phone-in town hall with Michael Bennet, one of our senators here in Colorado last night. And that was a good thing for us to do. It was my wife's idea, and I listened to probably about 3/4 of it. And it was good because the people calling in, it was just good to know that everybody else out there is as concerned as we are, right? That's going on, and they're making themselves available for this stuff. So there's that option as well. I don't know if Texas really has that because, well, we have people like Ted Cruz, or you guys have people like Ted Cruz now at this point,
Right.
or John Cornyn. It's so take advantage of talking to your representatives at any level, state level, local level. Just start with your city and work your way up.
Yeah, and yell and scream as much as you possibly can. I mean, the GOP now, there have been numerous town halls across the country where Republican members of Congress have basically been shouted down because of the bullshit that they're trying to pull off, and they're all, without exception, lying sacks of shit. And so shout them down, shout them out of the room, do whatever you have to do, because these fuckers have no shame, and
Nope.
will lie to your face repeatedly, and will continue to do so and think they're going to get away with it. So make sure that they don't get away with it. So the other, for next week, I'll come back. The other thing I had asked for when I was looking for feedback or advice in terms of how to get through this is to I'll have a suggestion of sort of 6 or 8, maybe more reliable, good, factual sources for news. In my mind, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, those you can pretty much all ignore. And so actually finding decent, accurate, insightful information is now difficult because we are living in a fascist state. So I'll have those suggestions next week.
All right. Sounds good. Well, sounds awful, but sounds
Right.
good that you're doing it.
Right. So more coming soon. So just because I wanted to do something a little lighter and sillier this time around, I wanted to talk about the upcoming baseball season. We are, a couple 3 weeks away from the season kicking off, and for the first time in several years, so at least since COVID, I am actually, somewhat excited about the upcoming season. For those of you that don't know, I'm a lifelong freak out diehard Red Sox fan, and they might not suck this year, so that's a good thing. Good thing for me. baseball, as you know, and famously mentioned in one scene from Simpsons, baseball comes up with staggeringly good nicknames for players, and that's been true for a century. And so some of these names you will have heard of before. Some of them you will not have heard of before. This this is not necessarily a quiz, um, but um, but you will like this because this is just something that's a little bit kind of light and silly. So in that famous scene from The Simpsons, Mr. Burns references three players. There were, I guess, from his generation. He mentions Honus Wagner, who's
Uh-huh.
obviously well known and quite famous. The other two were Cap Anson, and then the third
And
one. And go ahead, tell us.
Mordecai Three Finger Brown.
So Mordecai Three Finger Brown had a very, very long career. Pitched for I think 17 seasons, and he did. I don't know if he was a UT fan. I believe it's the case. So he lost two fingers in a farming accident. A farm a piece of machinery cut off two fingers, and uh, it's most of an index finger, and then about like the top third of a pinky finger. So he was doing the hook 'em slide or something.
Ah, okay.
But
All right.
having the thumb and the two middle fingers apparently gave him a good fastball, but then also just a wicked a wicked sinker. And so he was unhittable, and he won 20 games on multiple occasions. And I think he was one of the guys, one of the very, very few pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball that had an immaculate inning where he struck out three batters in a row with a total of 9 pitches. And so the guy seems like he was completely unhittable. So a few others. Some of these are pretty old, and a couple are Negro League names that you will not have heard of. Don Mossy was called Ears because he had huge ears. Walt Williams was called No Neck because he had no neck. He apparently hated the name.
Was he a
Um,
catcher? Was he a catcher?
I don't know actually. Probably
Okay.
it sounds like a catcher. It sounds like a
Does.
like a Carlton Fisk type physique. The player who was the human vacuum cleaner. Do you know who that was?
Brooks Robinson.
Brooks Robinson. Well, yeah, absolutely, because he just sucked up everything around.
And he
Uh,
played for one of the San Antonio minor leagues in his career.
oh, did he? Didn't know
Early
that.
on. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
the old
okay.
San Antonio Bullets. Yeah. I
Okay.
think.
And I know he was was he an Oriole for his entire career? He must have been.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Ricky Henderson, his nickname
Was Ricky Henderson?
was Ricky Henderson thinks you should call him the Man of Steel, Steal.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Nolan Ryan was
The Express.
the Ryan Express.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Red Sox fan. Spaceman
Bill Spaceman Lee.
Bill Lee, uh, Oakland A's owner Charlie Finley in the 70s thought all players should have nicknames, and so gave this guy his nickname for no reason, just but because he needed a nickname. Catfish Hunter got his
Yeah.
name for no
Great
fucking
name.
for
Great name.
great name, but for no reason. Just came out of the blue. Mark Fidrich, his nickname. Remember him?
Bird?
Yeah, the bird.
No. The bird?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the bird. Yeah, because he looked like Big Bird supposedly, like, which is bizarre because no one looks like Big Bird. A few others that are just sort of, I don't know, call these the honorable mentions. Um, who is Mr. Smile?
Oh, I've never heard that one before. I don't know.
Francisco Lindor of the Mets, because he just has
Ah,
has the perennial grin on his face.
you think I should know that being a Mets fan, but I
I
don't.
know.
Yeah.
So here we go. Ron Say, remember him? CEY.
No, I don't. Who did he play
Uh,
for?
he was called the Penguin because apparently he was low waisted and
Jeez.
walked like a penguin. He had 316 home runs in his career,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
and walked 1,000 times and
Walked
put
or
up
waddled?
well both
Okay.
and put up more career wins against replacement than the whole list of Hall of Famers. So a guy who should be in the Hall of Fame but who is not.
And tried to take over Gotham City many, many times.
Right, right. So there are three different players, one principally, but two others who were called Scrabble because of their just imperceptibly difficult last names. Mark Ripsinski.
Okay, I know who's on the list. I want to guess at one,
So
but I don't know
so
Ripsinski.
so Ripsinski's last name is Rzepczynski. I want to say White Sox or Cubs, but I'm not sure. And then there are two guys both named Doug. One guy I had not heard of. Last name is Gwosdz. Gwatz? I don't know. And then Doug Mankiewicz.
Goots.
Goots?
I bet
I
he's
don't know.
Welsh. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Mankiewicz. Okay. All right.
Um, so Scrabble or Mankiewicz was also called eye chart because it, right. And then just as an aside here, Ripsinski is also worth 31 points in Scrabble. Although you can't, can you play proper nouns in Scrabble? Okay.
You can't, and typically, yeah, you
Okay.
can't.
Okay.
And I thought Yaz might be on that list too, but
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, may as well be. So next guy was known as the human rain delay, Mike Hargrove. Remember him?
Uh,
He was a longtime manager as well. Called that because like the guy who did this like crazy, who drove me crazy. Nomar Garcia Parra, just twitchy and grabbing himself and adjusting his, I mean just took fucking forever between every single pitch. He had to adjust it, so there was 60 seconds between pitches. Jose Bautista was known as Joey Bats.
that's a good one.
Yep. Another member of the Red Sox, Dennis Boyd.
Oil Can Boyd.
Oil Can Boyd. Yep.
That's another great name. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He apparently, as I recall, he seemed to like drinking and doing drugs a bit, but had a wicked pitch. Good old Frank Thomas,
The Big Hurt.
the big hurt, the White Sox for a million years. Along the same lines, Randy Johnson, also big.
The Big Unit, which was just a gross, gross name.
Yeah, very gross. But I get how he was just completely unhittable because those pitches are coming in from first base basically because he's so freaking tall. And so I mean, if you're that would just be so confusing, and it'd be confusing. It wouldn't really matter what side of the base you were, or what side of home plate you were on. If you're batting lefty, it's coming in from behind you almost. So yeah, just unhittable.
Yeah.
I loved watching them beat the Yankees in what was that 2001 I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, great series. Great nickname for Pablo Sandoval, who I think he's just recently retired.
What was it?
Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, I think he struggled a bit with his weight, so he was always a little bit portly. So it definitely fit. Good old Gary Maddox was known as the Secretary of Defense. Also,
The
good,
Professor.
Yep, good name.
Yeah.
Now you get into a few of these that you'll definitely know. I mean, so Ernie Banks.
The Say Hey Kid. No, that was Willie Mays. Ernie
Mays.
Banks.
He was
Oh,
just
Mr. Cub. Mr. Cub. Yeah. Sorry.
Lifelong Cubby. Yeah. So the next on the list is Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid.
Say Hey Kid. Yeah.
Yep.
There was a song about him.
Giants, and he ended his career with the Mets or Yankees. Mets, I think, didn't he?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So Ted Williams.
The Splendid Splinter.
Kind of a stupid name, but kind of funny. And then good old Stan Musial.
Stan the Man.
Oh yeah. Yep.
My dad's favorite baseball player.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big Cardinals fan because that's all they could get down in South Texas were St. Louis games. That's what he rooted. He rooted for the Cardinals and the old St. Louis Hawks in the NBA before they moved to Atlanta because he got all the Cardinals games and all the Hawks games.
Right. Okay. Cool. Noah Syndergaard was. I forget who he played for.
Let's just say the Mets.
Mets. I think he's. No, I think he is with the Mets.
Mhm.
Was is or was known as Thor. And then a few of these, you'll definitely know some of these. So Mariano Rivera,
Manny, Mr.
Mariano Rivera.
Closer.
No, no.
I don't
What
know.
what piece of music did he come in to every time?
Oh, I don't remember.
So he always came in from the bullpen to enter Sandman. So he was called
Ah,
Sandman forever.
okay.
You've never heard that before?
I'm sure I have, but
Okay.
I mean,
So there's a player in the Negro leagues, a guy named Ted Ratcliffe. He was dubbed Double Duty Ratcliffe because this is back in the day where pitchers would do just Herculean amounts of
mhm.
work. So he got his name because in the 1932 Negro Leagues World Series, he was the catcher for the first game, and then he threw out a shutout in the second game.
Oh,
So yeah, essentially
that's interesting.
impossible. Yeah,
I thought you were about to tell me that he pitched and catched at the same time, pitched and caught at the same time, which would
no.
be that's a Bugs Bunny type feat there. That
So during a Players Weekend a few seasons ago, Kyle Sager walked out of the Rangers, and he was wearing a jersey that didn't have Kyle Sager on the back. It had Corey's brother because he's Corey Sager's brother.
okay.
A guy named Jimmy Wynn. Can't think where Jimmy Wynn played, but he was known as the Toy Cannon because he was a small guy. He was listed at 5'10", but he was probably more like 5'7" or 5'8". But he hit nearly 300 home runs and played his career in pitcher parks. So
Mm.
so the fact that he was good was otherworldly. Good old Fred McGriff.
The crime dog?
Yeah, yes. Well,
Yeah.
kind of stupid, but spot on. Aaron Judge.
Herman Munster. I don't know. I don't.
So supposedly his nickname is All Rise, which is kind of funny, but I've never heard him called that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson. I hated Reggie. God, I hated
Mr.
Jackson.
October.
Yeah, and then I didn't Derek have that same name? I think later on.
I don't recall.
Yeah. Later on, next up, one of my favorite players of all time, Ozzie Smith.
The Big O. Wait, that was Oscar Robertson. No, what was Ozzie Smith's? I don't know.
The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, he was.
San Antonio Marvin is going to roast me for this one.
Joe Jackson. You know this one. The rest of these, I think you will probably know.
Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Shoeless
Shoeless
Joe.
Joe.
He got the name because he took his shoes off because he was getting blisters, and like apparently played the game barefoot or in socks.
And he sat on the bench, Bryan, and he picked his feet.
Don't pick your feet. Good old Leroy Page.
Satchel Page?
Yep, Satchel Page,
Mm-hmm.
completely unhittable. He was the one who came back in his 50s as 50s, late 50s, I think, as a promotion for I forget who, the A's maybe. So way past his prime, and as a promotion to bring in fans, came back and pitched 2 innings and like struck out 3 guys, and he still could pitch when he was deep into his 50s.
That sounds like something Findlay would do with
Yeah,
the A's.
yeah.
It absolutely sounds like something he would do.
So another guy I absolutely fucking hated, Pete Rose, who hopefully will
Pete
not be
Rose.
hopefully will not be reinstated.
Why do you hate him so much?
The whole being a pedophile thing is kind of
Oh my God. I don't did I know that? I don't think I knew that.
he for years had a relationship with a girl who was under the age of 16.
Ew.
So the relationship started when she was 14 or something. Yeah.
I don't know. His nickname was pedophile. I have no idea. What was his nickname? I
Charlie
don't
Hustle.
remember.
Charlie
Charlie
Hustle.
Hustle. Yeah.
Yep. Lost my place. Lawrence Vera. I had no idea that this man's first name was actually Lawrence. I didn't know it was a nickname.
Yeah, the only Yankee that's on my list of favorite players, Yogi Berra.
I didn't say half the things I said. Right. Yeah. Great,
What
great
time is it,
dude.
Yogi? You mean now?
Mickey Mantle's nickname was
Um, the bartender.
the Commerce Comet. I don't even understand that, but whatever. Mike Trout's nickname apparently is the Millville Meteor, which is also a terrible nickname.
Hmm.
Bob Feller. This is Bob Feller's nickname is pretty good.
I should know this because one of my uncles is a huge Cleveland fan. I don't think I know Bob Feller's nickname.
The Heater from Van Meter. Not bad.
These guys could be on the college rhyming game.
Right, right, right. And of course, David Ortiz.
Big Poppy.
And then George Ruth. Pretty obvious.
George Herman Ruth. Babe
Mm,
Ruth.
yep. And then James Bell is actually number 2 on this list. This is a list that came straight from MLB.com. James Bell was known as Cool Papa Bell.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Great name.
so he apparently Buck O'Neill, Buck O'Neill is one of those guys who he's now, I say long past, probably not in the last 10 years, because I know he lived to be well into his 80s, but was featured in numerous documentaries, et cetera. And just
Hmm.
seemed like one of the most genuinely nice, interesting, cool
Oh
human
yeah,
beings
absolutely.
that ever lived. Um, he apparently, I'm sure, in some interview for a documentary, was asked, "What does cool Papa mean?" And he would say, "If you have to ask what it means, then you'll never know what it means."
Ah, very good.
So
Very,
I don't know.
very Louis Armstrong of him.
Yeah,
Very
very,
nice.
very it's kind of meta, dude. Should we be high for this or what? So I don't know. Anyway, so the baseball season is fast upon us. Fuck the Yankees, go Red Sox.
Well, I echo your first sentiment, not your second, because I still root for the Mets in the National League and the Minnesota Twins in the American League. But yes, I'm excited for baseball. I hope to get to go to a few Rockies games this year. And they typically have a little thing for University of Utah graduates because the owners were Utah folks.
Hmm.
Um, so I might actually do that this year. I've been putting it off every year.
Cool.
All right, go Mets. So that's the upshot of your story is go Mets is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah.
No?
If you take away nothing else, it's go Mets. Right.
Yeah, I met somebody once at a barbecue outside our apartment in New York. He said, "Oh, I root for both the Mets and the Yankees." So I was like, "You goddamn liar! You do not." Bryan, I get to do the curse word of the week,
Hmm.
and the curse word of the week this week is a portmanteau.
Hmm.
You know what a portmanteau is?
We've discussed portmanteaux.
Oh,
I've given
well,
numerous examples of portmanteaus. Yeah.
so breakfast and lunch is
Brunch,
motor and hotel is
motel,
trash and dump
trash and dump.
is Trump.
Tra-
Um, but today's word is a portmanteau. And if you look this word up on Urban Dictionary, it's got a very different definition from how I grew up using this word. It is a verb and is
hmm.
called smunting. Smunting.
Smunting.
Mhm. And
Uh,
it is a
I'm
portmanteau. I
smunting.
first
I know I've combination of smelling and bunting. Um,
I came across this word for the first time at some point in some summer between third grade and fifth grade. I was at my friend John C's house, and we let his dog, a pug, and her name was PJ Zunker. We let PJ out to do her business.
uh,
And while she was defecating in the backyard, John turns to me and says, "Look, she's smiling and grunting at the same time. She's smunting." So, smunting is when you're smiling,
smiling
but
and
you are
grunting.
grunting at the same time.
Okay.
Now, if you were to look this word up on Urban Dictionary,
It probably says something else.
it does. The first one is smug, and I'm not going to tell you what the second word is. But for
Okay.
me, it will always be the picture of a little pug grimacing as she attempts to do her business in the backyard. Smunting.
Got it. I like it.
All right. I do too. Bryan, it's time for my bit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a story. What it is the business proposition to you.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Now we're already in business as partners in Rough Tiger Productions together. But Bryan, I have for you a once in a lifetime money making opportunity. And I promise you it's not a scam like the ones you may have encountered in the past. Bryan, have you ever been approached before with a surefire can't miss lightning in a bottle money making opportunity?
Yes.
Has anyone ever? Okay. Do you want to talk about it? What was it?
No, I always say no.
Oh, you would say no. Okay. So we all have to think about the future, right, Bryan?
Hmm.
We all have
We
to
do.
think about what's coming next. What are we going to do when we stop doing what we're doing, so forth and so on. Now, I've only been approached twice with a surefire money making opportunity myself, which is why you can trust me in this new business venture.
Okay.
The first time occurred during my sophomore year in college. One of my former suite mates, I'll call him G, had contacted me regarding a quote business opportunity for college students.
Mm.
Now, my roommate, Simon, who is now my brother in law, had also been contacted. So we attended a meeting in G's room down the hall from ours because he was no longer our suite mate. This is our sophomore year. Nice enough guy. We just didn't want to, share a bathroom with him anymore. So we're in G's room, and the meeting consisted of Simon, G, myself, and a man who could have been Methuselah's grandfather. A,
Uh,
dis- a display easel had been set up, and if I call correctly, there might have been a whiteboard there. Warning bells immediately went off, but not with the shrill, piercing blasts of a fire alarm. Instead, these warning bells tolled with distant, ethereal tones as though cascading from a church spire through quaint New England countryside. Scam, scam, scam. Somewhere, Bryan, in let's say Vermont, a farmer squints into the sun and pushes his hat further back on his head. Land sakes, it's scam o'clock. Martha's going to skin me alive if I'm late for supper. In the distance, Martha stands on her porch, scanning the horizon for her husband. That Henry, he's going to be late for scam o'clock supper. I hope he's not spoiling his appetite with Pepperidge Farm mint Milanos. Back in the field, Henry stuffs an empty Pepperidge Farm wrapper into his overalls pocket. Now, Bryan, I'm loving this little trip to Vermont as much as you are, but we need to get back to that dorm room.
mm.
Okay. It was indeed scam o'clock for Simon and me because we are a captive audience for an Amway presentation.
Yeah.
You familiar with Amway?
Yes. The ultimate pyramid scheme. Yeah, it was awful. Just
Mm-hmm.
right.
Now, about 10 minutes into it, with tales of mismanaged retirement funds, bad business decisions, and the surefire solution for financial independence, I held up my hand. Excuse me for a sec. I've got to go to the bathroom. Now, I didn't have the phrases pyramid scheme or multi-level marketing in my vocabulary like you just mentioned, but something seemed off about Methuselah's grandpa's spiel. So I went out the door, down the hall to my room, sat down at my desk, and started reading comic books with absolutely no intention of returning to the presentation.
And you left Simon there.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing I also started probably listening to Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger album because I was listening to that a lot my sophomore year in college. Simon straggled in a few minutes later, looked at me with a sort of blank stare as though he'd been roused from a deep slumber. Don't ever do that again, he said. So I agreed not to ever do that again, and we did not sign our lives away to Amway that day or any other day for that matter. So that was the first attempt of someone trying to get me to buy into something. The second attempt to rope me in to certainly something that sounded like a scam involved my late father. Having been his estate executor for the last 5 years, I can tell you in no certain terms that he got involved in some businesses. Don't get me wrong. I love my dad. I miss my dad. He was a great mechanic, a superb farmer, and a world-class surgeon, but he was not a businessman. It was somewhere in late 2016 or so. So, very familiar period of time, really, when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When he called me, I've got a deal for you might want in on, he said. It's a new airline. It only flies from Moscow to New York on a daily basis. It's a joint venture between a US company and a Russian one. Long pause. All I need is your social security number. He was a bit disappointed when I said no. But Bryan, let's put all this aside. about Amway and Russian Airlines because I've got a deal for you, my man. This is that once in a lifetime opportunity I mentioned earlier. Here's what we're going to do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to head out to the deserts of New Mexico and lease some land. On this land, we will build a cat ranch
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to hire some locals. Now, I'm using a successful business model that goes back all the way to at least 1875, Bryan. So it's tried and true. If the land is remote enough, we might be able to claim squatters' rights on it after a certain period of time. I'll look into that. I mean, why waste money on, a lease? I'll be using 1913 currency valuation for this. So the majority of inflation calculators you find online start in 1913. But this sales pitch, as I said, goes way, way back. Listeners at home can adjust for inflation on their own, depending on when they hear this episode. So it's going to be great for everybody. Now, on the squatter's land, we're going to build a large barn for breeding cats, Bryan.
Uh-huh.
We will start with a population of about 1 million. All right.
Okay.
So
Sure. I'm with you.
here's how it's going to work. Each
Mhm.
female cat will have an average litter of a dozen kittens a year. When the cats are fully grown, and this is where we get into the big part of the business here, the 100 locals we've hired will kill and skin them because we're going into the cat pelt business. Working as a team, they should be able to skin about 5,000 cats a day. Each cat pelt, remember this is 1913 money, will fetch 30 cents each. After paying the workers their $2 per day wage, we will net over $37,000 a month, give or take in 25 days, so somewhere between 25 and 30 days. Bryan, that's almost $448,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
In today's money, that's a $14,362,579.76 a year of profit. Minus construction of the barns, we're still rolling in the dough. Okay. So you good? So,
Uh-huh.
Bry, may I call you Bry?
Sure.
Bry. You may ask, how will we feed the cats? And Bry, here's the beauty of it.
They
We'll
eat each
build a
other.
we'll build a third barn for raising rats.
Uh-huh.
Rats breed much faster than cats, and each cat will eat about 4 rats a day. So let's look at 2.5, 3 million rats to start. Now you might say, well, that's great for feeding the cats, but what will the rats do for food? Bryan, that's easy. Each day we'll take the skinned carcasses of the cats and feed them to the rats. This way, we feed the rats to the cats to the rats, and get the cat pelts for virtually nothing. And here's the good news. We can start to furnish our own power by rotating tomcats in and out of their breeding duties. Because, a fella needs a little downtime. Tomcats, not getting busy with it, as the kids say today, will be put into a fourth barn for static electricity production. Toms will be placed inside a large circular tube with bristles simulating human hands covering the inside ceiling of the tube every few paces. Enjoying the feeling of being stroked, the toms will circle round and round the tube with bristles generating static electricity. And as anyone can tell you who lives at high altitude or in the desert, static shocks are a common occurrence. The static electricity will be captured by a large battery, which will in turn power any mechanical devices we use in our cat and rat ranch. I estimate that in a few short months, we will be entirely self-sufficient in terms of power. We can lease electric trucks very cheaply to haul out our cat pelts to distribution points. So there's no need for a gas bill. So are you with me so far?
I'm with you. I'm in.
Okay.
Wait, maybe not.
As we all know, companies mired in the past will not succeed. That's why we've got to look to the future. We're going to build a fifth barn, Bryan. And that's where we're going to manufacture our anti-gravity devices.
Sure, right on.
These devices will consist of cats attached to the feet in various configurations. How does this lead to anti-gravity propulsion, you may ask? Simple. Cats always land on their feet. By attaching them together at their feet, we will prevent them from ever landing on the ground when we drop them. They'll just hover in place, probably, a few feet off the ground. A person could probably be held above the ground by attaching 3 to 5 cats together. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
you see it in your mind's eye. Now, you recall that as kids, we were told of the future flying cars we'd have or of jetpacks.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan,
Right.
we will have cat packs.
Cat and rat packs.
We will start by simply strapping the cat's feet together. If that doesn't work, we'll glue them together, and we could even sew them together if we have to. Once we perfect the method of constructing cat packs, we'll get a patent on it, and the money will just roll in. All of this because I had the vision and you had the fortitude to sit through this presentation and not wander off and watch reruns or Red Sox baseball or whatever it is you do for fun. Just think of it, Bry. Somewhere in the future, a Vermont farmer will be able to fly in from the fields using our patented cat pack anti-gravity propulsion system. Oh, Henry's never late since we got that Rough Tiger anti-gravity cat pack. So, Brian, what do you say? You in?
So how much money are you looking for?
Right now, nothing.
Oh, then I'm in.
All right. I'll let you find the land in New Mexico. Now, this comes from three articles called all about this scam, which actually did run in newspapers in the 1800s and
Oh, okay.
1870s. Messybeast.com, Snopes.com. And I thought of this story when I was listening to Husker Du's excellent New Day Rising album, their song, How to Skin a Cat, where one of the lyrics is them chanting just, we'll feed the rats to the cats to the rats, and get the cat pelts for free. So that is our next business venture, the cat and rat ranch.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, very funny.
America, the land of opportunity.
Uh-huh. And the line, may I call you Bri Bri? Very funny shit.
All right,
that's
folks.
hilarious.
We hope this has been between Mordecai, Three Finger Brown, and Hovering Cats. We hope you've enjoyed this one.
Absolutely.
I mean, personally, I believe that we've got to laugh and we've got to keep it up. So
yes, laughing and drinking. Those, well, laughing, not drinking.
well,
That's the cure.
Drinking, smoking, dancing, all the
Right.
good sinful stuff.
All the things that are good for your laughing. I think it's Jimmy Carr says that giving someone a really a genuine full body laugh gives them the some of the benefits of sex, sleep, exercise, meditation, and massage, or something close to that.
I could see that.
Yeah. So laughing a lot is definitely good for you. And we appreciate you tagging along with us. Kind of a sillier episode this week. We kind of felt like we needed it, because of all the shit going on in the world. But thanks for everything you do for us. Please drop us a line at dreamidiotspodcast@gmail. Check out dreamidiots.com. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram as well. And we'll be back again soon with more stupidity.
Yep. And more than ever, be good to each other.